If you've spent any time at all scrolling through YouTube, you know that miniature red dots, they're becoming more and more popular on handguns. Now I want to start this video by saying I'm definitely not an expert. I actually wouldn't claim to be an expert in anything. I know a lot about a lot, but I'm certainly not an expert. When I find some interest in something, I spend an obscene amount of time researching and learning everything that I possibly can about it. After that, I set off to practice practical application of whatever it is that I just spent all that time researching. In the case of red dots, I spent months doing my research before I finally made that decision to shell my money out for one. After that, I had to put in the time to actually become proficient while using the red dot system. Do you like guns and gun accessories? Oh yeah. Yeah, I do. A lot. Subscribe. Is the smell of gun cleaner pretty much an aphrodisiac? Oh. You know what? Yes. Yes, it is. Like this video. Is a trip to the gun store more exciting than a vacation to Disneyland? It's like you're in my head right now. Share this video. If you have the choice between going to the range and going to work, which one are you going to choose? Nope, sorry boss, I can't come in today. I'm almost 100% sure I've got the Rona. Yeah, okay, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Somebody say range trip? Huh? Okay folks, seriously. No channel can exist without the support of the people watching the videos. You are literally the lifeblood of content creation. Use the links below, share a video with some friends, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications, and when I launch a new video, don't get all pissed off about the notification. Calm down, relax, watch the new video, enjoy yourself. Take 10 minutes out of your day to show some support, because without you, we've all got to get day jobs. Handgun sights have been through quite the evolutionary journey even within just my lifetime. It used to be that a pistol had fixed iron sights. They weren't adjustable, they were hard to see. Realistically, they were more of a point of reference than they were anything else. After a while, adjustable front and rear sights came along. That was a huge step in accuracy in the handgun world. At a certain point, people started putting magnified scopes on handguns. Primarily, they were doing this for hunting, but also maybe a little bit of that cool factor. Night sights and lasers became a thing, both of which are trash in my opinion and have zero practical application for handguns. Okay, before the hate floods in the comments, I'll explain a little bit. Generally, lasers mount incredibly low as compared to the bore of your pistol. No matter how much you adjust that laser up, it is never going to be dead on with where you're aiming. That means that your point of impact is never going to be where your point of aim is. The problem there is that in a real world situation, your fight or flight instincts are going to kick in. If you do need to use your firearm, you have just added one more thing into what it's going to take to defend yourself. That's one more thing that can go wrong or be forgotten. I've spent a little bit of time playing around with laser light combos. I'm really not impressed. At 25 yards or whatever, the distance between point of aim and point of impact can be off several inches. In a life or death situation where your adrenaline levels are going to be through the roof, are you 100% confident that your aiming is going to be instinctual and that you're going to remember that your actual point of impact is going to be much higher than what your dot is showing on your target? Probably not. Night sights. Sure, it's cool that you can see them in the dark. That's pretty helpful, I guess. I mean, you have to be able to line up your sights in order to make an accurate shot. But it's dark, right? Dark enough for those night sights to be glowing nice and bright and be able to see. So, can you positively identify your target? Are you absolutely positive that what you're aiming your gun at is an intruder and not your punk-ass teenage kid who's sneaking back in the house in the middle of the night? Is your wife sleepwalking? Maybe it's your cat rustling through trying to eat something off of the counter. That cat's a real dick, by the way. In the middle of the night when you're a little sleepy-eyed and you get woke up because it sounds like something is going on in your house, adrenaline hits you. Mistakes get made. When we're talking about mistakes on the topic of firearms, they're usually lethal mistakes. The issue that I have with night sights is not necessarily with the sights themselves. It's that a lot of times people rely on the night sights and don't have a second thought about positively IDing their target, meaning they're not using a weapon light. Night sights can be helpful when paired with a weapon mounted light. On their own, I feel like it's dangerous to rely on them. I'll take a standard set of iron sights and a weapon light over night sights any day. At least with a weapon mounted light, I'm going to know who or what is in front of me. I can positively ID who's walking around in my house rather than popping around the corner with my pistol in the dark, gun ready, and the only thing that I can see plain as day is my night sights. Again, this is just my opinion, but if you are relying strictly on night sights, all you're doing is asking for trouble. Okay, enough of that. So we had lasers and night sights. Then a little while later, we had high visibility painted fluorescent style sight posts. Next came micro red dots and the fiber optics. I think people warmed up to fiber optics a lot faster than they did micro red dots. Personally, I'm a big fan of the fiber optic front sight post. During daylight conditions, they are super bright, really easy to see. If we're talking about low light or no light situations, generally I'm going to have a weapon mounted light on my pistol. That weapon mounted light is going to give enough light overall that the fiber optic front sight post is still going to light up enough that I'm getting an advantage over your traditional 3-dot iron sights. Even my guns that I use a red dot with, like this STI Tactical 4.0, I still use a fiber optic front sight post. This one has a red dot, but the fiber optic I'm using is green. That way I have a little bit of contrast between the color of the dot and the fiber optic front sight post. Now in the case of my Smith & Wesson M&P here, this one still has blacked out traditional iron sights on it. I do have a fiber optic front sight post, I just have not yet installed it. Right now that's perfectly okay. I'm not carrying this as much right now because it is winter time and I'm carrying my STI right now. The fiber optic front sight is a great all-around sight. The versatility of that sight is exactly why so many people are using them on their handguns. Fiber optic sights are relatively inexpensive. You can get them for pretty much any pistol that's out there. You can get a wide variety of actual fiber optic inserts for them as far as colors. So they're really nice because whatever it is that you're looking for, you can find it. Not only that, but they're dirt cheap. Now the micro red dot, that's been around for a little bit, but it really seems like it's taken a little bit of work for people to get on board with it. I guess in many ways, I get it. The cost is not going down as fast as any of us would like it to be. That cost is going down a little bit, but you know, the cost of a quality red dot still stings. Then you have that added cost of installation. Sure, you have the dovetail mounts that can replace your rear sight, which gives you a plate for the dot to go ahead and mount to. Please don't. Those things are trash. You aren't going to reliably hold zero, and chances are that thing's going to break on you and you're going to be stuck with no sight. If you really want to get a good fit for your red dot, if you really want a stable mounting surface that is going to reliably hold zero over time, you really need to get your slide cut for that optic. This M&P right here started out as a just standard run-of-the-mill M&P. I sent it off to Floyd's Custom to have some slide work done, and I figured, what the hell, while it's there, let's go ahead and mill the cut for the RMR. It really didn't take too long. It was a little bit over a month before the slide came back to me and was ready for reassembly and to have the RMR installed on it. Now sure, more and more manufacturers these days are making their pistols optics ready right out of the gate. That in itself is a sign that micro red dots are becoming more and more popular and that it's not a fad. They aren't going anywhere. They literally are the way of the future. Now I'm sure a lot of people struggle with the idea of buying a new gun or paying to have theirs modified just to learn a new sighting system. But let's be real here. This really is the evolutionary path that handguns are on. It's not changing anytime soon. This is not an anti-iron sight video so much as it is a pro red dot video. If you love iron sights, that's cool. I love red dots. And to me, I feel like there are some distinct advantages to red dots over iron sights that seriously outweigh the cons, if you will, of the added cost and the time learning a new sighting system and all of that. Now, the mechanics of iron sights are somewhat complicated in comparison to a micro red dot. With iron sights, I've got to look at my target, I have to press out with my gun, I have to change my focus from my target to my sights and make sure that my front and rear sight are aligned both up and down and left and right before changing my focus back to my target and taking my shot. Of course, with plenty of experience, that process happens relatively quickly. It becomes second nature. It does become easier over time to be able to make those slight adjustments to keep your accuracy while taking multiple shots. There's still that process though where your focus has to go from the target to the sights back to the target. I mean, it's just the mechanics of it. Now, the micro red dot, it is a much simpler action. You never take your focus off the target. You bring your pistol up to where the window of the red dot intersects your line of sight between your eye and the target, keeping both eyes open at all times. Is the dot where you want the bullet to go? Yes? Pull the trigger. No? Make a slight adjustment. Then pull the trigger. Now, there are two things that we just completely cut out of the equation by using red dot. With the micro red dot, you're keeping both eyes open the entire time. You stay completely focused on your target. There's no need to go between target and sight back to target. There's literally no sight alignment needed. The dot does all that for you. Wherever the dot is, that's where you're aiming. Red dots like this RMR, for instance, that's how they're designed. The dot gets projected onto the glass, and if your sight alignment, if you will, is off, then that dot is just off. It's really simple to make a slight correction to get that dot where it's supposed to be and actually have it on target. It's magic. Seriously. These things, they were designed by magicians. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was wizards. Okay, maybe not, but they may as well have been. Most people were taught to aim a handgun with one eye closed. Line up your front sight to the target, make sure that it is centered between the dots of the rear sight, squeeze the trigger. With my red dot, I keep both eyes open. I keep my focus on the target. I pull my pistol up to where the red dot is right there in my line of sight, and the dot is hovering over whatever it is that I expect to shoot. Now, after you've trained with one of these for a little bit and kind of gotten used to the easier, more simple mechanics of aiming with it, it's faster and more accurate than iron sights ever dreamed of being. Of course, there are people who are going to scream about reliability. They will foam at the mouth over how it is a battery-operated system and it could fail. I've seen the comments out there. Again, this is the evolutionary path of handgun sights. Relax. Take it down a couple notches. If it's not for you for whatever reason, that's fine. Stick with your iron sights. Most people that are running a micro red dot, they also have backup iron sights just in case there is a failure with that dot system. If it's reliability that you're concerned with, go ahead and go over to the Sage Dynamic channel. Aaron Cowan does some of the most hardcore red dot testing that there is. I wince every time I see it, but also, like a train wreck, I can't take my eyes off of it. If a red dot passes his test, I'm going to trust it. If it's batteries that you're worried about, okay, I get that. Holosun makes some with a solar panel built in. That way, in daylight conditions, it's feeding off of the solar panel instead of the battery. Also, it's standard practice to change your battery once a year, whether or not it needs it. Most of these things get ridiculous battery life anyways. The RMR that I have here on the Floyd's Custom, this one is non-adjustable. It's auto-adjust. It never shuts off. It's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Always on. Always ready. I'm coming up on the year mark where it's time to change the battery on this thing, and it's still going strong. So yeah, the batteries last a long time. Change your batteries once a year just to be safe. Go watch Aaron Cowan drop test one of these things from shoulder height onto cement. When you're done there, put some serious consideration into the reasoning behind your argument against red dots. You know, this is just how things progress with any technology, really. I'm sure in another 10 years there will be some other crazy new sight system out there. Stuff we can't even dream of right now. By then, micro red dots will be the absolute standard, and they'll be resisting whatever that new thing is. People will fight it tooth and nail exactly the way that some people do with red dot systems now. I don't know about you, but I know I'm excited to see whatever that next step in the evolutionary process of handgun sighting systems is. The micro red dot has revolutionized the way that we use our pistols just within the last few years of use. If you haven't gotten on board yet, just take the time to try one out.